Hello everyone, my name is Mohsen Fallah Zavareh. I am an assistant professor in the Department of Civil Engineering at Khwarazmi University in Tehran, Iran. I have also been collaborating with the Research Office of Road Safety Pioneers, RSP, since it was founded. RSP is a road safety NGO in Iran, which is also a member of the Global Alliance of NGOs for Road Safety. In this presentation, I would give a brief introduction into the safe system approach and the particular question of how road safety NGOs can contribute in the procedures of road safety management. Before that I start the presentation, I would like to present a couple of slides to introduce the road safety pioneers. The Road Safety Pioneers Group was founded in 2015 with the goal of improving the public traffic safety culture and raising public awareness based on a scientific approach. Our slogan is "Safety starts with me." Our main areas of activities have been on public education, target group education, and public awareness raising. However, we have not been limited to the public at large, but also have been in direct communication with decision makers in road safety in both provincial and country levels, and most importantly, the lead agency in road safety in Iran, with the aim to raise their sensitivity about road crashes and the consequences through the scientific analysis approach. The most important activities in which we were involved have been on public awareness campaigns that have been mainly designed and implemented on an international basis. For example, the campaigns of Save Kids' Lives, the Slow Down Every Life, Speed Vaccine, and so on. We have commemorated the World Day of Remembrance for road traffic victims for 2-3 years. We have had some technical road safety courses for traffic police officers, transport managers, and decision makers. We have also had general road safety courses, for example, for students in schools, motorcyclists, the drivers of commercial vehicles, etc. We have been active on making short videos on safety advertisements, and making webinars with international speakers invited to present their best road safety practices. We have also been involved in scientific research, for example, on speeding, driver fatigue, etc. In our recent activities, we aim to provide free online road safety educational materials in the form of recorded presentations like this one. The audiences will be the international road safety activists, but we will also translate these materials in our local language so that the local audiences are also able to use them. Well, I would like to start by saying that there is no need to re-emphasize the issue of road crashes, as road crashes have been recognized as one of the leading causes of death over the world, causing the tragedy of more than 1.2 million lives to unexpectedly come to death each year, and as many as 50 million more to come to a wide range of disabling injuries from temporarily to permanently. Since recent decades, road traffic crashes have been among the biggest issues that the divisions of health, economy, insurance, and legal services have been tackled with on different levels and scales, from local and provincial to national and global. The human and economic toll of road crashes, injuries, and fatalities could be paralyzing both to their families and to the societies. For instance, the loss of breadwinner could easily incapacitate the families and drive them into poverty, as the families cannot easily tolerate the burden of severe outcomes of road crashes. The social and economical costs of road crashes are huge. The families and the societies have to spend money, which is sometimes a huge amount, for the expenses of medical care, or the disabled people in road traffic crashes who have to be cared for. Now, suppose that all these have been happening in the societies that are already in need. I mean, they are already struggling or hardly scrambling to acquire the required resources for even a minimal hand-to-mouth development. This means that the society would not be able to support the victim families by providing backing support, for example, in the form of insurance services or government supports above and beyond all the development challenges that the country is usually faced with. This adds to the sophistication and makes it quite complex when we know that the available resources to invest in road safety projects and programs are not usually commensurate with the scale of the problem. The lower the income of the country, the worse the condition. Add to this complexity the fact that the low and middle income countries have been shown to lack not only the required financial capacities, but also the technological, human, and organizational resources to tackle the problems. The economic loss of the road traffic deaths and injuries has been estimated to be as enormous as 5% of the GDP in low and middle income countries. But the story with low income countries sounds different than the middle income countries. For the low income countries, in the lack of sufficient financial resources, this may lead to a loop that I call it a recursive paralyzing loop. I will explain it here. The financial resources are not sufficient to be invested on road safety in low-income countries. Many people annually lose their lives and get injured on the roads. This leads to a huge loss of GDP every year. The money that could be invested on the development, including road transport betterment. But such countries have always more urgent and new requirements in the course of development. Particularly, such countries have usually no sustainable roadmap to development. Therefore, the opportunity to recover the transport system and road safety is becoming limited year by year, and this may lead to an increased number of road fatalities and injuries year by year, and this paralyzing loop continues. For the middle-income countries, things may be quite different. Most countries in this range seek economic growth. It is, however, quite challenging that the economic empowerment efforts are mostly accompanied by higher levels of motorization, meaning that shifting to industrialized economy will probably bring more vehicles per capita and higher amounts of mobility in terms of annual vehicle kilometers traveled that may endanger road safety. In other words, road injuries and fatalities start to rise through the course of economic growth. Particularly, the economic growth period is usually coincident with an emphasis by the policymakers, authorities, and practitioners on transport efficiency rather than road safety. For example, they are trying to decrease the time delay and increase the vehicle kilometers traveled instead of road safety. Such efforts are inherently contradictory to road safety unless effective steps are taken to harness road safety. This means that more road fatalities and injuries would be expected by rapid economic development, and this is a very important observation in this group of countries. Evidence supports that there is always a time lag or lapse required so that ascending curve of road fatalities start to pull down. That is, people will need time to get used to the new system of increased mobility and car use and underlying routines and protocols. This is also an important familiar observation in the high-income countries, where fatalities per population started to decline since around 50 years ago. The declining trends, however, are apparently quite stable in leading countries in road safety, which are mostly from the high-income countries, denoting that the approaches to improving road traffic safety have been remained stable and systematically working over time. It is, however, worth noting that the current approach of eradicating road traffic fatalities and severe injuries in leading countries in road safety has evolved gradually. So in the next slides, I will go through this evolution in the course of time, coming to the current modern approach, the so-called systems theory. At least since a century ago, mankind has been curious to explain why an accident happened. It is noted that accident, and this meaning, was not necessarily a road crash. From that time on, efforts were taken to adopt theories to explain the causes of accidents. The approaches to the question started by Borskovich, who studied the frequency of deaths from the horse kicks. He fitted the Poisson model to the distribution of deaths per army corps per year and argued that accidents are underlying random processes that a human being has no control over it. Several observations, particularly during the World War I, shook the theory of Borskovich by discovering that some people were abnormally more prone to accidents than others. The theory of accident proneness was coincided and very soon supported by the advocates of Sigmund Freud's theory, and this resulted in several intelligence and personality tests to screen the appropriate people for high-risk critical job positions. In other words, this approach maintained that accidents were the fault of a few people who were of some sorts of personality disorders, and to prevent accidents to happen, efforts should be taken to deny those people from achieving high-risk critical jobs. Later, investigating the data of road crashes in 1939, Thomas Forbes argued that most car accidents were caused by ordinary drivers. He showed that only 1% of drivers were involved in 23% of all accidents during the 1931 to 1933 period, but the same 1% of drivers were involved in only 4% of all accidents during the 1934 to 1936 period. In other words, most accidents during the latter period involved drivers who did not have any accidents during the first period. Thomas Forbes' study was a turning point in the history of road safety theories. From this point on, a new approach was taken to seek out the exact mechanism underlying each individual road accident. This approach was perhaps adopted from microbiology, where the investigators searched for disease-triggering mechanisms. The proponents of the causal accident theory were looking for contributing factors causing the accidents and then breaking out the causal relations to stop the accidents from happening. But the most important challenge of the theory was that for almost all accidents, it is not trivial to recognize the single most cause of accident. In other words, none of the factors recognized as the cause of accidents were more decisive than the others. The theory also most often misled in the way that the human factors were recognized to contribute in road accidents, and therefore its main emphasis to prevent road crashes was on modifying human behavior through preventing human errors. But it is very normal that the human beings make errors. Therefore, the next generation of road safety theory, that was the safe system theory, had no way other than to recognize the human errors. In this theory, efforts to eradicate the human errors are senseless. Instead, the emphasis was put on the elements of a road transport system so that each part of the system be designed in the way that it decreases the chance of driver error, and if the driver errs, this would not cause to his or her death or serious injury. Therefore, according to the theory of safe systems, no part of the road transport system is more crucial than the others, and safety is a shared responsibility among all stakeholders, including the final road users. Road users include a wide range of people with really different backgrounds and skills. They are exposed to errors of different levels, from simple unintentional lapses to intentional extreme violations. Humans are not machines to work based on a set of programmed if-thens. They are smart creatures whose decisions are most of the time based on a very complex mechanisms. Errors are inherent in the human processes leading to actions, but different layers of the road system, including the human final user, should complete each other so that the final outcome of a crash is not too adverse. I think the logic underlying this viewpoint, or paradigm to say, has been widely and traditionally practiced in ordinary life. For example, the child is always exposed to many environmental traits. Some of these traits are shown in this slide. The child's error is, however, very natural, as it comes from the still undeveloped physical and mental condition of the child. Therefore, blaming the child for the behaviors that are beyond his or her control is not a solution. Instead, tailoring the environment proportional to the child's physical and cognitive status will most probably nudge him or her in the way that the errors, whether intentional or unintentional, will not put his or her life at risk. For the rest of this presentation, I would go more in depth into the introduction of safe system theory and its characteristics. The contents of this presentation from this point on are mostly quoted from an invaluable report, Zero Road Deaths and Serious Injuries, Leading a Paradigm Shift to a Safe System by the International Transport Forum, or ITF. There are also some materials from the report entitled Implementing the Recommendations of the World Report on Road Traffic Injury Prevention by the World Bank Global Road Safety Facility, or GRSF. I will then go through some directions on how road safety NGOs can help to promote a safe system approach. In safe system approach, the human, with fallibilities recognized, is located in the center. The approach starts with an ethical perspective that nobody deserves to lose his or her life or become seriously injured in a road crash. No difference the errors made by him or her are unintentional slips or lapses or systematic errors or even an extreme intentional violation. Road safety is a human right that should be recognized by the system designer. The safe system takes a forgiving strategy to prevent road fatalities and casualties. In other words, while human errors are inevitable, fatal and injury road crashes are both predictable and preventable. Road safety is a shared responsibility of all the stakeholders in a road transport system, including the final road user. So the safe system approach to road safety is considered as a holistic, multi-sectoral approach. The recent Swiss cheese model has been widely used in road safety applications to show how latent errors in different layers of system construction can contribute in road crashes. This illustration is very important from a road crash prevention point of view. Layers in this illustration are from different levels. The leftmost layer is in the system design level, where the designer of the road system must truly recognize all the stakeholders in the system so that the right stakeholders take the right responsibilities. This is a strategic level where filling in latent errors will require systematic change through the long-term interventions. On the opposite side, defense mechanisms is underlying very immediate operational actions which are heavily related to the human driver decisions and therefore very prone to human skills and capabilities. The interim layers in this figure are the quality assurance, meaning that the policies should be designed in the way that it guarantees that the targets, including the interim targets, will be met. It also includes psychological precursors of the actions and the actions in the traffic. The latent errors through which the arrow passes depicts the trajectories of road crash opportunities. In each layer, care should be given so that the chance that the latent errors are coincided becomes very small. Moreover, it is noted that filling out the latent errors in the early strata in this model is more effective and less dependent to the decisions of the human driver. Safe system approach is distinguished from the traditional approaches by many aspects, including the definition of the problem, the goal, the planning approaches, the causes of the problem, the ultimate responsible, and how the system works. For example, based on the traditional approaches, the goal is to prevent all crashes, but the safe system approach considers only the fatal and severe injury road crashes. The safe system approach sets the goal of eradicating fatal and severe injury road crashes. It is a proactive approach, meaning that you should not wait for road crashes to happen. The safe system recognizes people's fallibility, and in opposite to the traditional approaches that blames only the non-compliant road users, it argues that varying quality and design of environments, including physical, social, organizational, and technical environments, can provide inconsistent guidance to road users about what is safe road use behavior. In contrast to traditional approaches, for road safety as the responsibility of the individual road users, the safe system approach considers road safety as a shared responsibility by individuals with system designers. Finally, and as the Swiss cheese model argues, the summary effect of the combined elements is greater than the sum of the individual treatments, meaning that if one part of the system fails to properly operate, the other parts should provide protection. Safe system approach in road traffic is based on 4 important principles. Principle number 1 says that people make mistakes that can lead to road crashes, meaning that people easily err, mainly due to the human's physical and cognitive limitations when interacting with the environment. The environment in this statement does not necessarily refers to the built environment, but also to the social, organizational, and technical environments. As explained earlier, human errors cannot be fully eradicated, but it is necessary to mitigate the consequences of human errors, meaning that care should be taken so that an error will not lead to any fatality or severe injury road crashes. According to the principle number 2, the human body has a limited physical ability to tolerate crash forces before harm occurs. From a practical point of view, for instance, a reduced operating speed will result in a less strong impact and less serious injuries if a road crash occurs. Therefore, the risk of injury will be mitigated to a large extent through reducing kinetic energy, be it through a reduced operating speed, contact surfaces that absorb kinetic energy, or a combination of both. Principle number 3 argues that to prevent crashes resulting in serious injury or death, a shared responsibility is required among those who design, build, manage, use roads and vehicles, and those providing post-crash care. It should be noted that putting all the responsibilities on the shoulders of the final users for the simple excuse that they ought to abide by the rules and regulations, that they should be well educated or trained, that they should be effectively supervised and enforced, and etc., is senseless, because human beings are not infallible, as explained earlier, and will always make mistakes, no matter how educated or law-abiding they are. Finally, principle number 4 respects that all parts of the system must be strengthened to multiply their effects, and if one part fails, road users are still protected. This principle mainly comes from the phenomena of the layered nature of the system. To strengthen the quality and the size of effect, the layers that together build a safe system will be managed holistically instead of treating individually. The complex interactions of various layers have been depicted in this slide. The diagram explains how the 4 principles explained in the previous slide come together in a safe road transport system. As the diagram shows, the humans are at the center. No difference, they are pedestrians, they are drivers, they are cycling, they are motorcyclists, or simply passengers. Care should be given when you know that different road users of different abilities and capacities will have different design requirements. By the way, the human errors are omnipresent, meaning that the system should be tailored well enough to all the requirements of different users so that the variation in behaviors among people is kept very small. In the second circle, we have roads and roadside. This circle is very important from 2 different aspects. First, it considers that the road and roadside can be designed in the way that it nudges the road users to behave safely in traffic. It is also important in the way that a good forgiving design of roads and roadside can mitigate the consequence of a road crash if it occurs. In the third circle, attention has been given to the fact that the human body has a limited physical ability to tolerate crash forces. Therefore, by setting and enforcing appropriate speed limits in the locations where each type of road crashes can occur, for example, head-on collisions, crashes with roadside objects, pedestrian-involved crashes, and side crashes, the system designers make sure that the crash impact is less than the thresholds that the human body can tolerate. The fourth circle pays attention to the post-crash medical care. This is a vital circle where the system failure causes collision impacts that are above the limitations of the human body. In this case, this circle should be timely activated so that the victim is received emergency care, including emergency medical care. Therefore, these can be called the supportive circle, which is activated in the case where the system comes to a failure. Finally, the fifth circle is in line with the fourth principle of safe system, meaning that safety is a shared responsibility of all stakeholders, including those who design, build, manage, and use roads and vehicles, and also provide post-crash response to prevent fatal and severe injury crashes. It includes not only the government sectors, but also the private sectors and civil society organizations, as well as the individual drivers. It is also noted that a result-focused approach is essential to receive significant outcomes out of the safe system management, meaning that the lead agency has to set out objectives and intermediate targets and periodically monitor and evaluate the procedures to make sure that the results are achievable. This slide refers to the road safety management system. In this slide, I would not go through the details of the road safety management system and the underlying procedures, but it would be necessary to explain a little bit about the pyramid of safety management system I've adopted from the World Bank Global Road Safety Facility. Interested audiences could refer to this important reference for more information. Building institutional capacities to manage for results is essential in a road safety management system. This pyramid is formed of three interrelated elements, including institutional management functions, interventions, and results. Managing for results will require a lubricated interrelation of these layers. The lead agency should have sufficient and timely information regarding the performance of interrelations of layers to manage to get significant results. The safety management system, if well tailored based on the status and requirements of any country, whether it is a high-income country, a middle-income country, or a low-income country, has been claimed to be of required potentials to deliver significant results. As the figure depicts, the safety management system is based on 7 institutional management functions, including coordination, legislation, funding and resource allocation, promotion, monitoring and evaluation, and finally, R&D and knowledge transfer. These functions operate to leverage the road safety interventions in the middle layer, including planning, design, operation, and use of road infrastructures, entry and exit of vehicles and drivers, and recovery and rehabilitation of road victims. This will help to achieve road safety results. It is noted that the results of the interventions can be regarded in a hierarchical scale from the outputs, for instance, the number of speed cameras set up per 100 kilometers of the road network, intermediate outcomes, for example, in terms of the population of drivers violating the speed limits on the road network, and final outcomes, for instance, the number of annual fatalities and severe injuries on the road network. In the lack of effective institutional management functions, the lead agency has a little chance of successfully implementing road safety interventions and achieving the desired results. From this point on, the discussions will go around how road safety NGOs can help to achieve the desired focus on results in a road safety management system. First and foremost, it is noted that promotion is a vital part of the institutional management functions in a road safety management system. According to the GRSF, promotion is defined as a sustained communication of road safety as a core business for government and society, and emphasizes the shared societal responsibility to support the delivery of the interventions required to achieve the desired focus on results. This is a very broad definition of promotion that goes beyond the road safety advertising with an aim of supporting the road safety interventions. For example, the definition addresses the overall ambition level that is set out by the government in the national road safety targets. In the leading countries in road safety, where safe system approach has been adopted and successfully implemented, road safety NGOs have been identified as an essential partner when preparing and implementing safe system projects. According to Bliss and Breen, community groups and NGOs can help intensify community ownership of the project ownership, and they are capable of achieving this effectively with relatively low budgets, providing they are well integrated into the project from the outset and can engage meaningfully in its ongoing management and implementation. Furthermore, it has been shown that there are persistent deficits in awareness and understanding, not only among the public at large, but also among the road safety professionals. Such deficits are regarded as certain barriers to the implementation of safe system. The deficits are believed to be effectively and appropriately addressed by the strong NGOs who are active in road safety. The deficits through which the road safety NGOs can interfere are as follows: a lack of public awareness of the magnitude of the road trauma problem, a low perception of the real dangers and individual risk of crashes among road users, a lack of appreciation of the fact that there are solutions available, and a lack of support for initiatives seen as infringing on personal freedoms. From this point of view, the activity area of road safety NGOs is not limited to the public at large, but they may communicate with the lead agency, and sometimes they can push them and press them to take their responsibilities in making the required decisions. It means that the NGOs can facilitate not only the top-bottom approach, where the individual final road users are demanded to take their responsibilities in road traffic system, but also a bottom-up approach in which the lead agency or the system designer in general is demanded a better road safety decision and outcome. The NGOs can press or push the policymakers to derive more ambitious targets by creating the sense of urgency in the society. Sometimes the government, particularly in low and middle income countries, intentionally set misleading or easily achievable targets to show off or pretend that they are doing something for road safety. For example, in Iran, where I live, they have adopted the number of fatalities per 1,000 of motor vehicles as a measure of road safety performance, meaning that by the time the increase in the number of motor vehicles and motorcycles registered is exceeding the increase in fatalities, the measure wrongly shows an improvement in road safety. As another threat that may add sources of bias in decision-making, traffic police in Iran amazingly does not take into account the road crashes occur to the foreigners or on the private roads. They simply ignore these data in their reports. Active road safety NGOs in these cases can force the officials, if they can, to take more ambitious, real, evidence-based road safety targets and prevent them to intentionally manipulate the data just to pretend that they are doing effectively. The road safety NGOs, if they have access to road safety data and are capable to make inferences out of the statistical procedures and results can stimulate the public demand for more road safety through the public media. This can subsequently help to engage politicians, policymakers, and system designers. The strong NGOs can help by making sure that the 4 principles of safe system are effectively in place when the essential decisions are being made by the lead agency. The strong NGOs have observatory roles by analyzing the urgency, the accuracy, the precision, the feasibility, and the cost effectiveness of the decisions of the lead agency and to reflect them to the society. For instance, analyzing the road safety data and effectively communicating the road safety facts to the lead agency and the public at large can help by pressing the lead agency to make more evidence-based economic decisions and road safety policies. This helps in data-driven road safety policies. The NGOs can use the road safety performance indicators as measures of success to evaluate the road safety programs. In this presentation, I provided a brief introduction into the safe system approach and how the road safety NGOs can contribute in road safety management. The role of road safety NGOs in this presentation is beyond the traditional road, which is based on the top-bottom approach demanding the public to take their responsibilities. We presented the bottom-up approach based on which the NGOs, of course the strong enough NGOs, can demand the system designers, the politicians, the policymakers, and the other stakeholders for more safety. The more independent and technically strong the road safety NGOs are, the more effectively they can play their roles. It is, however, understandable that the strength of road safety NGOs in a society is in strong relation with the openness and preparedness of the civil society where the NGO works. In the lack of real civil societies, the demanding power of the NGO may be set out and controlled by the governing body where the NGO is located. So the NGO and the government are working based on an implicit trade-off, and the NGO can hardly go beyond the permissions given by the government, particularly if the NGO lacks the essential resources. Thank you so much for listening to this presentation. In the case there are any comments, critiques, or questions, kindly contact me on my email address m.fallah@khu.ac.ir. All the best and have a great time.